Today's case is pretty baffling. This is the story of Brookelyn Farthing. Before we continue, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel so you stay up to date when I post a new case. Brookelyn was born on August 26, 1994. Her mother is Shelby Walker, her stepfather is Randall Walker, and she has two sisters, Tasha Thomas and Paige Farthing. The family lived in Berea, Kentucky, where there's a population of under 16,000, which is a pretty small city population. Brookelyn was a graduate of Madison Southern High School. On June 21, 2013, Brookelyn and her sister Paige went to take their driver's license tests. Paige didn't pass, but Brookelyn did pass. Afterwards, the two girls went to meet Tasha and their mom at a restaurant. That same night, the family went to celebrate their grandfather's 70th birthday at their grandma's house, and afterwards, the two sisters went to another party with a cousin of theirs. That night, Brookelyn stayed at the party because she was going to sleep over with a friend that was also there. Paige and their cousin ended up leaving. The friend that Brookelyn was going to stay the night with wanted to stay over at a guy's house. Brookelyn didn't really like this idea. Brookelyn and her friend ended up fighting about it, and then her friend left the party, leaving Brookelyn there. After the party, witnesses say they saw Brookelyn leave with two guys. Joshua Hensley was the name of one of the guys Brookelyn left with. The other guy they were with got dropped off at home, and Joshua took Brookelyn to his home. One source says that the other guy that got dropped off was another friend of Brookelyn's, and that Joshua let her use his car to drive the guy back home because he was drunk, and then Brookelyn drove the car back to Joshua. I'm not sure if this can be confirmed, but either way, she ended up at Joshua's house. One important thing to note for later is that Joshua's home did not have any electricity or water at this point in time because it was in foreclosure. I can't confirm that Joshua was the owner of the house, or if he was just living there. As the night went on at Joshua's house, Brookelyn called Paige around 4 the following morning and asked her if their cousin was able to come and get her. Their cousin couldn't drive because she'd been drinking. Brookelyn didn't want to wake her mom up to ask if she could get a ride home, so she told Paige that she would instead call her ex-fiance and see if he could pick her up from Joshua's house. Brookelyn got in touch with her ex, and he said he would pick her up after his shift at work. Eventually, Brookelyn was texting him multiple times, telling him to hurry and saying how she was scared. At 5:30 a.m., Brookelyn sent the last text saying, "Never mind, I'm okay. I'm going to a party in Rockcastle County." Her ex texted her back and asked who she was going to be with, but Brookelyn never answered him. Brookelyn actually had plans with her family the following day, but when 2 p.m. rolled around and there was no sign of her, Brookelyn's sister Paige told her family that Brookelyn's friend said she left from the party the night before with Joshua. Paige ended up getting his phone number, and Tasha, the girl's other sister, called Joshua. Tasha explained to Joshua on the phone how everyone was worried because Brookelyn was not answering her phone. Joshua told Tasha that Brookelyn was staying at his house, but that he left to go take care of some horses because he was supposedly uncomfortable being at the house with Brookelyn because he was friends with her ex-fiance. He went on to explain that nobody came to pick her up yet, but that he overheard Brookelyn talking about that party in Rockcastle County. He then went on to tell Tasha that Brookelyn was on the couch smoking when he left to take care of his horses. This is where things get weird. When Joshua got back to his house around 7 in the morning, the house was on fire, and Brookelyn was nowhere to be found. All of Brookelyn's stuff was still at the house besides her phone. Brookelyn's family went and reported Brookelyn missing. Afterwards, they drove to Joshua's house to check things out. On the porch, they found Brookelyn's stuff, and even her shoes. Search parties were sent out in the search of Brookelyn for weeks, but nothing ever came of them. The fire that I mentioned earlier was investigated, and it was determined that the fire started on the couch, which is where Joshua claims he saw Brookelyn smoking when he left that morning. It was around 7 a.m. when the fire department received the call that the home was on fire. The fire consumed a lot of the couch and burnt a hole into the ground underneath, but luckily it was put out before it spread any worse. There is no way this fire could have been caused by any sort of appliance like a dryer or an oven because remember, there was no electricity in the house at the time. Brookelyn's cell phone last pinged at a cell tower near Blue Lick, about 30 miles from where she was last seen at the house. To this day, Brookelyn has not been found, dead or alive. Let's go ahead and jump into the theories about what happened that morning, because there's a lot of weird coincidences here. The first theory is that Joshua did something to Brookelyn. First of all, Joshua's story makes no sense in my opinion. He claims that he left the house because he was a good friend of Brooklyn's ex-fiancée and didn't want to make it look like things were weird. However, if this was his mindset, why would he take Brooklyn back to his house from the party in the first place? Or why would he let her stay there? If he was that weirded out, wouldn't he have just told her she needed to get a ride somewhere else? Many people think that Joshua's story of how he last saw Brooklyn smoking on the couch is a little too perfect. It seems that his story points to the idea that Brooklyn is the one who lit the couch on fire with the cigarette, maybe on accident. In my opinion, it wouldn't make sense for Brooklyn to have done this. First of all, if she fell asleep and the cigarette started the fire, she either would have woken up or been burned right there, but there was no body there. Secondly, if she did accidentally light it on fire and she fled, why would she leave without her boots and her stuff? And where would she have gone? The timeline of Joshua's story is also weird. It seems like he caught the fire at the perfect time. It really only takes minutes for a small fire to cause a whole house to catch up in flames. Fire spreads really quickly. But like I said, the fire was only around the couch and on the floor underneath, and even though both were burned pretty badly, the fire wasn't any worse than that. From the time the fire started, to the time Joshua found the fire, to the time it was extinguished, in my opinion, I don't think it could have been that long. So where the heck did Brooklyn go in that short period of time? Many people believe that Joshua did something to Brooklyn and that there was evidence on the couch, so he burned it. However, many people are quick to question this theory because why would he light the couch on fire inside of the house? Maybe if he was desperate enough to get rid of evidence, he would have. To make it clear, these are just speculations, not accusations. Some people also think that the last text Brooklyn sent was not sent by her, but maybe by the person that hurt her. It seemed like a major tone change. I mean, she went from saying she was scared to saying that she was fine and headed to a party. Some people think that Brooklyn did start the fire on accident and did flee the scene. Could she have been met by someone dangerous when she fled? And if she did flee, why didn't she take the rest of her stuff? Another theory is that the ex-fiancé and Joshua were both involved. This theory goes that the ex did come over, but maybe there was an altercation and the boys got rid of Brooklyn. I personally don't believe this theory because I'm pretty sure her ex was at work and they seemed to be on good terms. After all, if they weren't, why would Brooklyn have asked him for a ride home that night? There are a lot of other theories, like that maybe Brooklyn accidentally hurt herself and someone tried to cover it up. Maybe Brooklyn was a victim of human trafficking, or maybe she's still alive somewhere. You'll have to let me know down in the comments what you think happened. Here are a couple testimonies of people who supposedly lived in the area at the time this happened. I will be keeping their Reddit handles anonymous because I don't have permission to share them. This is from a Redditor who lived in the area where Brooklyn went missing. I actually lived a few streets over from where she went missing. People were knocking on our door asking us to help them with the search. It went from "have you seen her" to "look in your ditches, back trails, places people don't usually go, any possible place something could be hidden." People seemed to be really confused at how nobody in such a small town knew anything. I believe no one knew because she never went to that party. No one in Rock Castle would have a party at 5 a.m. That's the time a lot of people, especially older, start heading for work / getting ready, farming, etc. That'd be a stupid time for a party. It was just said to throw whoever came looking off the trail. She never went, or someone would have at least said something about seeing an unknown pretty girl. Before I read what the second local said, just to explain further on the part about the party at 5 a.m., some people from the area claim that it is possible there could have been a party at that time of night if people were doing meth. Some claim that Berea is a pretty drug-free town, but others claim that they know of people who did do meth. Regardless, I think it's a weird time for Brooklyn to decide to go to a party, especially after the way she was acting. Another local Redditor that supposedly went to school with Brooke and graduated with her said, "From what I understand, the police did a terrible job with the investigation. The police in this area are very corrupt. As well as they did have a suspect, but between all the conflicting reports of where she is, I think they just left the case alone." It's terrible to think about what could have happened to Brooklyn. And if she's still out there, I hope she's okay. I can't imagine how difficult this whole thing has been on her family and friends, especially in such a small community where I'm sure Brooklyn was very loved. If If you have any information about what happened to Brookelyn Farthing that morning, or any leads regarding the case, I will leave resources below in the description on who to contact. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.